Oh, okay. So I guess this is going to be the last video in these recordings, and we're going to pick from where we left off the other day. I think it was yesterday. Sounds like the other day, like I don't know. Yeah. So yesterday we had made the changes. We had oh, was this me pushing my change to? Okay, great. We had made the changes. We'd actually implemented the changes. Then we also had logged into the um pod, the master pod, and we went into sec, which is actually Wazu's directory. So we list the content in integrations. We saw our integrations. We also had reviewed the Woodle. We as well as reviewed the logs and the backup as well to be sure we have everything which we've done properly integrated. And it seems like it's all good from this front. Then also we checked from the dashboard, which we're going to do just a second. Let me see if I can grab that password. Um, okay, secret password. All right, that's quite a secret password. So we'll go over to the dashboard. We will log in as admin, then with our secret password. We're not saving this. So on the dashboard, we also had reviewed the logs to see if we're having any error logs, and definitely I think we were having some. To do that, we're going to management. You can also see the rules which we're going to be actually updating later. We'll create a rule for Guarduty Cloud Watch, CloudTrail, and also we'll update the local rules. But if you go into logs, I will just do a real time and also descending order all the logs. Definitely, you can see a bunch of warnings from this S3 Voodoo Service Cloud Watch exit code 16. I'm going to interpret this pretty much. It means there's nothing to fetch from the cloud environment because there's nothing configured on the cloud environment. Also, we can see it's executing the Voodoo to fetch these buckets based on the path we defined in our config. I will just open up the master conf to be sure we're looking at that. So if I go into Wazu conf, master conf, you do remember that yesterday we had configured a bunch of this stuff, but I'm just gonna go to the Voodoo for, let's see, this is for the backup. We don't need to do anything for this yet. We have to create those buckets in the cloud environment. Then the alerts check. We don't need anything for this yet. Nothing for this yet. Then the CloudDuty and GuardWatch module, great. So this is where we're seeing those errors. Every 4 minutes, this is going to run. It's going to try to fetch stuff from our buckets, which is Guarduty Kinesis S3. That's a bucket name. It's going to try to fetch. If it doesn't find stuff there, definitely you'll be seeing those errors with the code 16, which we saw there. It's also going to try to fetch from this bucket as well in a different path. The first path is for Firehose. Second path is actually for Firehose E Central, the same buckets. And it's also going to try to fetch the Cloud Watch logs for these load groups. And if I go back to my, just a minute, track this. If I go back here, you would see a bunch of these errors in real time. It's telling me I can't see anything for CloudWatch. I can't see anything for Guarduty Kinesis S3. I can't see anything with the path. This again, this is making us understand that the Woodle is running, but it's not able to fetch the content into Wazu. So what we're going to do is we're going to try to fix these errors so we can actually have a clean slate looking up here. So to do that, we will go over to our cloud environment and we'll be creating the integrations. I'm just going to do one of them. I'm not going to do the cloud watch. I'll just do the Guarduty Firehose because I'm almost expanding my resources and I'm already incurring charges for leaving this stuff running. Okay, so let's get into the business. So we would do the Firehose integration. So I've got my Firehose open. I've got Guarduty open, not set up yet. And then I've got S3 bucket. We're going to be creating a bucket. Excuse me. Then also the CloudWatch log group. We're also going to create a role for this so we can actually have export a few things from here back and forth. Then later on, we're also going to create an EC2 instance, like I mentioned. And on that instance, we're going to, I'm just going to put this in the right region. create an EC2 instance. On that instance, we're going to assume that will be enrolled into the Wazu shim, so we can actually use that for tests, try to trigger an echo file in there and see how it behaves. If we do have some time, I would be glad to do further stuff, maybe bringing in virus to those stuff. But I think I want to close this video here today. Then if there is a demand to expand the capability, definitely I still have the entire deployment file. I'll be glad to share with you guys. Then we'll be glad to expand the capability until we'll have a full-fledged CM and partly a SAW. Okay, so let's get into the business. Right, so first thing we will review that we have a bucket created for this to be sure that we want a bucket created, which we'll be using to write our logs into. I've got some buckets here that I'm hosting my cheap website. Okay, my portfolio, pretty much a portfolio. I call it a cheap one because I still haven't fixed the SSL. Yeah, I haven't fixed my SSL yet, so it's still like a cheap one, but it's just my portfolio website, showing a bit of the skills and also the areas I've worked on and stuff like that. Glad to check it out. You want to reach me, I've got a form below here. You can actually leave an email and also get a comment sent over. All right, enough with this advice. Okay, so on the S3, we will go back to the S3 buckets. And yeah, great. Let's create a new bucket. And remember, the names have to be in line with the names that we have in our config that we set up here. So in our case, remember we say the name of the bucket has to be this. I'm just going to grab this name and I want to use that name so I don't end up having issues not finding the buckets. So we'll give this bucket a name. We will just set it in, let's see if we can actually find London somewhere here. Great, London, great. Okay, US2. Then block up public access. I don't really think we need public access for this bucket because again, it's going to be within the same Wazuh already have the credentials to be able to communicate to that the cloud environment where this is and also read content from the buckets. So I don't want public access for this bucket. If I do need later, I can actually set an ACL to actually allow that. But for now, we don't need no public access. Bucket versioning, I don't need any versioning for this bucket. It's just going to give me hassle. Okay, then encryption, I will use the server-side encryption, just leave it the way it is. Then the bucket key, well, I would use Amazon supply key, no stress on my part. All right, under the advanced, we don't need to actually do object lock. So that's just all we need to do. Verify those change. Oh wow, too bad. So we'll have to make a change in our Wazuh config because there's already a bucket with this name existing, as this problem with S3 bucket being global. Okay, so we will update this name, maybe Guarduty Kinesis S3. Let's see if that would fly. Okay, that seems like it flew. All right, so we've got our bucket created, and that's the bucket here. Great. Now we also need a create path. I'm just going to quickly update this change and I'll push it later into the deployment. Grab this. We will be updating our buckets. Bucket name is now this. Then we will create a path called Firehose. But I'm going to also update the bucket name here for the second path. Great. Now going back to our browser, we have a bucket. Next, we go and create the Firehose. We're using Kinesis Firehose, like I did mention. So we switch over to Kinesis, and then we'll create a new delivery stream. Now we can select source and we can select destination as we can see right here. So we'll be selecting sources and destination. Again, we want to fetch stuff from like a cloud watch, sorry, from a GuardDuty over to like an S3 bucket. So it's easy to understand what the source and destination would be in this context. Okay, so for our source, we'll select, we have Kinesis data stream. We don't have any data stream yet. We'll just go with the direct put option because we'll be configuring that. Then our destination will be an S3 bucket. Now we can give it a delivery stream name, just something unique if we care for. But if we don't, we can just use the default delivery stream name the way it is. Okay, in our case, we just call it Wazu Firehose. Okay, transform source record with AWS Lambda. We don't need to turn that on. Convert record format, we don't need to turn that on. And S3 buckets, so we need to select our S3 buckets, and we created this buckets for it. We choose that bucket. Then dynamic partitioning, we don't really need that. S3 bucket prefix. Now I would set a prefix because I want this to write to a particular, which we define here as the slash firehose. So this is going to be our prefix for the first one. We'll also create another prefix later for the second one. So be sure you are selecting the right prefix or you're creating the right prefix. If not, you might end up having issues with the actual stream. Right, so we will give it the path, the prefix, firehose. Then we can check a few things around encryption. We don't need any of this. Under the advanced, we don't need to enable server-side encryption. CloudWatch error login. I want error login so we can actually use that to debug and fix issues if there are failures with the stream. Then the service access, we need to create an IAM role to actually grant permissions for this Firehose to actually stream data within the cloud environment. All right, so we will create our delivery stream. I guess it's going to show us a review, then we should be good to go on that front. Now, once we're done with this, we'll switch over to the CloudWatch space. So we have our delivery stream created. And at the moment, if you look at the metric table here, pretty much nothing. But once we start pushing stuff, we definitely will start seeing stuff. If we go over to our S3 buckets, just to verify if we're already seeing the path here. I doubt if it's in already, nothing yet. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to go over to CloudWatch and create, I think we'll be creating a delivery for the CloudWatch. So we can actually use that to carry out the a rule actually in CloudWatch that will allow us to carry out this action within the cloud environment. So let's switch to CloudWatch and get this done. Okay, so over to CloudWatch, we will be creating a rule in CloudWatch. So under events, we select rule. Let's see if we've got any rule at the moment. We don't seem to have, oh, we seem to have one for the scaling for the cluster. Okay, so we're going to create a new rule. We'll just call this okay, just a generic name. We don't need a description. The event burst, we'll leave that default. Now, we will be setting up a few more things under this rule so we can actually allow this rule to do what we want it to do. So rule with an event pattern or schedule. We'll go with rule with an event pattern. We go next here. All right, so under here we need to select what events we want to actually bring in, and also we want this rule to fire on whenever there's actually a change somewhere. So we should be able to fetch stuff, allow Kinesis to actually fetch stuff from our case Guarduty over to the S3 bucket. Remember, the service is Guarduty. We want to stream Guarduty event over to the S3 bucket. So the rule comes handy in that context. So we select AWS events or event bridge partners event. Then we don't need to set anything here for the sample events, but if we do have some sample, we can actually use that here. We will just use the pattern from event bridge templates. Then the service. So this is the catch. We want to get from Guarduty and deliver to the Firehose. So we will. That's what this role pretty much will be doing. So under the service, we select Guarduty. Then we can specify, but I'm going to pick all events in my context. Then next, the delivery, we can select a service. Again, for a specific use case, we're selecting AWS service, but if there's an event bus, we can actually use that. The service here will be Kinesis stream. Let's see if we have anything on fire. Host delivery stream. Okay, that will be our service. Now we will select the stream. The stream we've created is actually this was Firehose. We select that stream. Then we need to get a role created. If we have a role, we can actually use that. But in our case, we just create a role. And if we want to go a bit more advanced, we can actually set retry policy here, but I'm not going to do any of those. Or we can even set like a dead letter queue to like a notification SQS, but not doing any of those today. So we click on next. We can also set a tag. Again, recommended using tagging, but in this context, no. Then we just review what we're trying to do here. Everything sure it's okay. Then we'll create the role. Now, once we have the role created, we will go ahead and update our IAM permissions. By default, we should start having the Firehose stream data to the buckets. But remember, we don't have Guarduty set up yet. So we will go to Guarduty. Then we'll create Guarduty. Be sure we're doing that in the region. We have a 30 days trial, so we can always delete this after the recording. All right. In the context of the service role permission, just to view the permissions we have here, and that looks good for me. Malware protection as well, read only. Then we can enable Guarduty for this region. Now, Guarduty is region based, so I just enabled for the London, and I have my Guarduty set up. So by default, if I have an EC2 instance in this region, Guarduty should start actually giving me details from that instance, but there's nothing yet. Yet. Okay, so next we will go ahead and just update our IAM. The IAM we're using for this, so we can actually have the necessary permissions to read write to the X3 buckets. I'm just going to go over to IAM. Then this is my IAM. Under permissions, I will just add a new permission. I'll create one inline, then I'll just use the JSON template. So I'm going to clean this whole thing and just grab my permission and put that here. Then I'll just walk you guys through it. Okay, so what I'm basically excuse me doing is an allowing now the S3 bucket object, S3 bucket list. So I have to update this with my bucket name. So I'll go over to my S3. Oh, where the hell is my S3? Okay, this is my bucket name. I will just copy this as the bucket name. Then I will be updating this on my IAM. So great. Then I'm also going to be updating this as well. Now I have this set up, so everything in this path, the road path, and also any other path I want to define, I can actually define that within the bucket here. So I've got this created. We will just get this, give it a name. Again, you could use any name that reflects the policy that you're trying to create. In my context, I think I'm trying to create something that should allow the IAM user actually read the content of the bucket. So I'm just going to give it Wazu S3 read. Okay. All right, great. We've got that attached. Now we can also, if we want to delete the log files, once it's been read, we can as well create a policy to delete the log files, but I'm not going to be doing that here today. All right, so once we've got that all done, we want to be sure, again, once again, you want to be sure you have this config here. I'm going to actually push this change because we did change the bucket name. We want to be sure we have this config done correctly, and it's reflecting what we've done both on the cloud environment. And if all looks good, let's first try to push this change. Let's see if I can just a bit lazy doing the up thing. All right, so we're going to just do the kubectl apply k on that path so we can actually push the change. Okay, so my time is almost run out. All right, let's do. Okay, we're trying to apply the change. If all works good, we should get our change applied. Let's see, we seem to have a null label selected. That's a one key error that I didn't want to see. Okay, maybe we have some. Okay, it's all good. All right. Get ports. Let's get the ports. Let's see. Okay, it's creating a new for the worker. Again, we'll just get that change reflect, and once it reflects, we will go over to a cloud environment. Then we'll start maybe create an EC2 instance and see how that stuff works. If you can trigger some stuff. Okay, all the ports are running okay now. 31 seconds, 18 seconds H. So we will go over here. I'm going to log into the master. Then I will just try to restart the service. If I do have it in here, let's see. Do I have systemctl? I don't think I have systemctl. Maybe this is sys being it. That will be service, I guess. Okay, Okay, great. So service Wazu, let's do Wazu manager. All right, so we're going to restart the entire services for the Wazu manager. And once all good, we should have that config start running. We'll go view if we can actually see the Wazu running from the dashboard once this is all started. Okay, just pause the video. Okay, it's done. All right, let's just go over to the dashboard and let's try the relogging again because we're going to be thrown out definitely. So we'll log in again, then we'll see how it looks like on the logs. Okay, so did refresh the page. Now we can see no files are found in Okay, so it's actually reading the buckets. We don't have that key error anymore. It's reading the buckets, but no files are found in the buckets because we don't have any logs yet. We saw that from our Guarduty, and no logs will be processed. Okay, so what we need to do now is try to see if we can actually simulate creating an EC2 instance, then getting the instance hooked up to Wazu. Then, or we don't even need to hook it up to Wazu yet. We can just have it in the cloud environment, maybe trigger an echo file in there, then see if Guarduty flags something. Definitely that will trigger the data stream for the Firehose, push the logs over to the S3 buckets, then we can have Wazu do a bit of processing. That's a lot of talking actually. So let's just get into the meat. I hope this doesn't extend too long. Now we'll verify that our config is running good here on the cloud environment. We can see that we've made the necessary changes and it all looks good. Just go into OSEC. Let me go into EDC, my bad. Just give me a second. I think we need to bring in the rule for Guarduty. So let's get that done first. Right here, I can do that right here on this management dashboard. So remember we talked about rules. So if I go to rules, I will see the rules that I have here, and we can manage the rule files. Actually, we can see the rules we have in at the moment, all the way to the 17. There are a bunch of them. Remember, we had pushed in the local rule. You can see the local rule here. Actually, we can view it. There's nothing in there. So I'm going to be updating this local rule to start with, and I'm going to create a rule for Guarduty, which will be the next one. Let's view this. Okay, this is also just a basic local rule for server. All right, so let's do two things. First, I will update this local rule. I'm just going to edit that. I can remove everything here. So if I go over to my terminal here on my VS Code, I've got local rule for CloudTrail for Guarduty and also the default local rule. So I'm going to grab this one. I'm just going to update what we have in here with that. Okay, paste this here. And this is actually doing a whole lot. You would see stuffs for the backup, stuffs for the other stuff that we've created so far, all in this local rule. I'm not going to start going through it one after the other. So we'll save this. If the format is right, we'll have it saved. We can restart the Wazu manager. It's going to run a restart here on the dashboard. We don't have to go do it from the here again. That restart, once it runs through, we should have it back up again. Then we're also going to do for the CloudTrail, we're going to copy the same. This one is quite extensive, quite extensive, because we built multiple use cases to be able to actually trigger an incident for in Wazu once they match. So if you want this, once again, I'll be glad to share this specifically so you can actually use that as a way to leverage your building. You see a bunch of stuff on EC2, the full-fledged capability to actually trigger, but for the malware detection capability that Guarduty's got. I'm going to copy this. Then once we have this back, we can actually do a rule test, but I'm not going to do that here. I'm just going to go back. Then I'm going to create a new one. All right, I'm just going to paste this here, and I will give it the name as it is in my VS Code. So it's just called local Guarduty rule. I'm just going to edit this and copy that. Okay, go over here, and this is going to be an XML file. All right, so we'll save this change as well. It's going to ask us to restart the manager. So to apply that rule, we'll just restart the manager, get the rules applied. Now, while that is restarting, let's go over and create an EC2 instance. So we'll create a fresh instance here. we'll be able to connect to it and just play around and do some fun stuff. So we will let's launch a new one. We'll call it tests. Okay, we will use Ubuntu just to make this easy for myself. I'm just going to stick within the free tier so I don't end up incurring extra charge. I'm already getting a lot of them as well, as we speak. For the key, if we want to create a new key, we can actually create a new one here. But in this case, I'll use the Cloud Shell so I can just log in from the Cloud Shell. I don't have to create a new key. Okay, so the networking, again, we want to be sure that we've got the proper networking done. So this is to instance should be able, later on we'll be actually enrolling Wazu agent on this. So I want to actually put this within the same group where the networking is done for the Wazu deployment. Makes it easy for us to have that back to end to end for the agent enrollment once we get to that stage of the recording. Okay, so what we're going to do is we will not use any key. Under the VPC, we will put this in the same VPC as we have our Wazu. So we use the Wazu VPC. The subnets, we've got an option to choose from a plethora of these, but I'm just going to stick to any of them. The first one, that's fine by me. Assign public IP, we'll assign a public IP. Then a security group, we'll just create a new one that can allow me to SSH into this box. So I'm just going to stick to SSH TCP, a source anywhere. I'm fine with that. Then I don't need to set up the CIDR for the source, and that will allow SSH connection from anywhere. If in case I want to manage this, I think I can also just get a new key created. Maybe I thought I was let me see. Just create a new key. Pull it down. Pretty much we use that to connect from our terminal. I'll call this Wazu key. Okay. We just create a new key for this. We have it downloaded. We use that to connect later. All good. All right. Then we have it all good from this front of storage. I'll use the default storage. I don't need to bring anything extra. All right, let's launch this instance. Okay, so once this is launched, we should have it in the same VPC as the Wazu. So we should be able to have that connection back and forth. So we will just go back to instance, and once it's done launching, we'll try logging into it. Then we'll definitely start doing some funny stuff to see if Guarduty is actually monitoring that instance for us. Okay, so our instance is running. As we can see, just going to refresh this page. Okay, so we'll click on that. We want to connect to this instance so we can actually connect it to it from here, or we can actually use SSH key to connect to it. We've got the options. We want to use SSH client. We must be sure that we change the permissions on that key. I'm just going to grab that command and go over to, I'm just going to open up a new Z shell here for me. Run this update. Okay, that's good. We should go into Wazu Kubernetes. So we should see a key somewhere there. I'll paste this command here, chmod on the key. Then we can actually connect to it using our key. I'm just going to work with this command. All right, so grab that over here. Then let's see if we can connect to that instance. It seems to be a bit of delay. Maybe it's still provisioning. We can also try to connect using here. We can just connect to it from here on a browser shell. Let's see if it's up and running here. Not sure why there's a delay connecting here. Interesting. Uh-oh, fail the connected instance is unable to connect. Ensure that the networking is configured correctly. Oh, okay, so we need to go review our network configuration. Sure we allow access to SSH port 22. Okay, so we fixed our networking problem. We had to open up some ports in the VPC because Wazu VPC was created and protected with restricted ports open. Okay, so we will go and connect over to this thing. Just select a yes, and we are in the instance. So what we'll do is we'll try to grab a sample eco test file and drop it in here and just see if Guarduty can actually flag for malicious activity, and probably that would help us understand if our integration is working as expected. Okay, so I'll head over to my repository and I have a sample standard antivirus eco test file. Let's just select that one and try to pick something from here. Let's see if we can find anything with a bash that I can just execute and see how that stuff works. XLS, PowerShell. That's just the TXT file should be good. I thought I had something like a bash. My bad. Okay, let's see the TXT file. We'll grab this with the hash. I guess it's going to be using that hash. So just copy that. Head over here. Where are we? Okay, so we can do like a nano. Okay, we'll paste this in here and we write that out. All right, so we have a eco file in here and we should be good to go. If all looks good, what we're going to do is we're going to do a bit of verification. First, we'll grab the instance ARN and try to run on the fly there. Let's see what that looks like. So instance ID, just going to go step back and fall in that instance and just grab it. So we'll run on this instance ID. Let's see if it flags anything. The request is invalid, out of range value. Not sure why that is the case. We will try that again. Try to see if we can actually grab the instance ID and run it again and see what that looks like. Okay, so we have selected instance ID and we're running on demand scan on the fly to see what that looks like if we have any scene flagged within that instance. Once it's done running, we should see maybe a result, or we can just play around a bit on that instance and try to see what we can actually do on it. If we maybe can actually flag, maybe do something that will flag or violate something on this instance. We can try to cut the content of let's see shadow. Okay. Uh, so let's try to see if we can actually cut this out and write it out to file. Just some malicious behavior. Then we will try to use netcats to send this over to our local machine. Let's see if we can actually exfiltrate data. Probably we can create some signatures within Guarduty. I'm going to pause this, then when I'm done, I'm pretty much going to share the screen and show you guys what it looks like. Okay, so we've been able to trigger some Guarduty findings. You can see we've got a bunch of them here already triggered using the API. So we will quickly see if our data stream already picked this. We'll switch over to Kinesis, and then we're just going to refresh this. Already, you can see on the fly, we're picking up those events. So our stream is already collecting or creating those events, incoming input, incoming records. So once that is fetched completely, it's going to start showing delivered to the S3 buckets. We should be able to see those being written over to the S3 buckets. Let's just do a quick verification on our buckets if we already have started. Not yet. Okay, we'll wait for it. Probably I'll pause the video. And once all it's fetched, then we will see that it's delivered to the bucket. Once it start appearing here, delivery, we should now start seeing it in Wazu being processed. I will pause the video and come back once that is done. Okay, so the final verification, let's see. We have, I think our stream should be good now. Okay, yeah, I can see one little dot here. So we can see record count pretty much small in terms of the time window. We can adjust time window to actually get it a bit more um, probably elaborated. We can see it right there. Okay, so we'll go over to our S3 bucket and then do a bit of verification. Refresh this page, go into the Kinesis. We can see the path Firehose which we created. We can also see that we've got data from 2023 today, 10th, that's October 24th, today's date. About 9 or something, we can see this data. Now these are already logs that are ready to be sent over to Wazu. Once they hit this bucket, because we had configured, if we go back to our config, Wazu should trigger the Wazuh and start fetching content, everything in this path. So maybe one final verification, we will go over to Wazu triggers that every 4 minutes from our settings, if you remember. So if we go over to our Wazu dashboard, we will see the management, go over to logs, then we're just going to select these for real-time logs. Okay, let's see if we can find anything related to recent activities. Exit status was one, the custom Slack integration. Okay, that's fine. We're not looking for any of those. Service Cloud Watch. Okay, finish version. I would wait for the most recent ones. I guess we might find it there. These are for integrations. This is CloudWatch. Okay, I will pause the video once I find one that is related to the Guarduty events that we just exported. We should be able to come back and look at it. All right, sweet. So it seems like we're good to go. Now I did find that debug, and already in the dashboard on the events, we can see um, it's already flagging for any others. Okay, so we can see it's called the tag Guarduty. Again, remember we created the rules for Guarduty. That's why we're seeing this. If I actually click on this, we can now review in detail what is happening here. We can see that particular Guarduty ARN. We can see it came from the Firehose integration, which we did. It's unencrypted. I'm fine with that. It's from the Ubuntu instance. Okay, then we can also see a bit more details in terms of the group name, what was done, ECA file, not a virus. Okay, interesting. All right, so we can also see a bit more detail about the path where the file was dropped. Now, this is what your classical SIM would do. It would also show you the IP address where that actually event was carried out based on. We can see the full log here if we want to, but I'm not going to go into details talking about the Kibana here. Again, you can also view the JSON. I just want to show you that this stuff worked as expected, and as you can see, it does work as expected. We now have coverage and visibility on our cloud environment using Guarduty integration. Now, what if we want to add an agent, which is going to be the next thing we're going to try to do? We'll try to add an agent and see what that looks like. On the dashboard already, we can start seeing log level, threat level 12, which is pretty much high there, authentication failure. We can view that on events as well, and then we'll just see a number of them throwing in already. The final thing I want to do, I think I don't want this to go beyond 40 minutes. It's already 38. Let's add an agent, and I'm going to wrap it up there. So add an Ubuntu agent. We will select 15 plus x86. That's fine by me because what we're deploying in cloud is x86. Now we need something, the FQDN of the Wazu server. In our case, it's going to be the load balancer URL here. Again, it's the fully qualified domain name. We don't need the HTTPS attached to it. I'm just going to paste that there. Verify that I copied the right thing. Then I can also give it a name, but I'm leaving it as default. You can assign to a group. I'm leaving it as default as well. So to deploy this, I'll grab this command, go over to this and paste this here. Then we will execute this. So this is going to download the agent, install the agent. If all works good, as you can see, did that installation fine. Then we will try to restart the service. We'll just grab these commands and paste them here. So we'll try to restart the service, wait for that to start, and we'll see if that works. If it doesn't, I'll be debugging that later, but I don't want this to go beyond 40 minutes. I'm already shitting beyond 40 minutes. Okay, all that is done here. Now we can verify the was the agent status. Okay, we can see it's active and it's running. Let's go over to here, try to refresh this page, see if the agent is added. If it's not added, then it's going to be a networking issue. We need to verify the VPC where the agent is deployed is actually the same VP. It has connection to Wazu. As you can see, it hasn't added the agent yet. It might take a while, but again, we can as well view in the manager to see agents that have been enrolled. Now, I'm not gonna go into details trying to debug all that because I want to close this today and I want to close this here. But if you want to learn more, if you want to get to see more, how to get this fixed and have that agent enroll on the cloud environment, just let me know via comment. I'll be glad to actually maybe consider recording one final video, maybe for this. Anyways, this is going to be the end of our Wazu exploit so far at this moment. I do know that we'll be building capability into this, like having the virus total integration. In the case of the eco file, with the virus total integration, we should be able to use that to just delete the file from the agent that was infected. And that's going to be like incident response in this case. Okay, thank you for your time, and I hope you enjoy the content. Please do like, subscribe, leave the wonderful comments. I do appreciate them. It's the only way I get paid, like that comment. I just love the comments. I don't get paid by YouTube. Okay, so thank you for your time, and I'll see you in maybe the next recording sometime. Have a good day. I'm definitely going to clean up. So everything you've seen, keys, passwords, all those will be gone off. So by the time you're seeing this recording, none of those is already existing on my cloud environment. And I do recommend you do the same too if you're deploying this for tests, so you don't end up incurring excessive charges. Thank you and bye.